Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. This is going to be the NFL DFS Week 9 core pick video. Typically, I have, my little graphics pulled up for each player, their position, who they're going against, their salary on both sites. But unfortunately, didn't have quite as much time today to get around to that. So I'm just going straight on DraftKings and FanDuel. They're going to be the same players for both sites as normal. It's just not the fancier graphic, which the graphics I used before still ain't the fanciest in the world, but hopefully you guys are okay with that. If you're not, feel free to leave something down in the comments saying, hey, I'd like to see the graphics once again. But going to be the same thing. If you haven't been here before, first of all, welcome in. But I'm going to go through each position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense. Going through one player at each of those positions, going over their projected ownership according to runthesims.com, their optimal appearance rate, their fantasy points per game on both DraftKings and FanDuel, as well as their price tag on both DraftKings and FanDuel, and kind of some reasons why I like them overall this week. We're going to start off with the quarterback position and Kyler Murray. He's $7,400 on the DraftKings side. He is $8,200 on the FanDuel side. He is one of the most expensive quarterbacks on this week's slate, and it's kind of rightfully so. He's a guy that is averaging 21.5 points on DraftKings, 20.2 points on FanDuel, so up over 20 points. He's had 5 games on DraftKings over 20 points so far this season out of the 8 games he's played so far, obviously. So there is some pretty good upside there with him. And he's gotten his top wide receiver back in DeAndre Hopkins for the past 2 weeks, and it's been very good chemistry for those two together. Goes against the Seattle Seahawks defense this week, which is 22nd against quarterbacks in terms of fantasy points allowed. 21st in passing yards allowed too, but that number is a little bit lower just because they've been so bad against the run as well. Kyler Murray, the first time these two teams faced each other, he only ended up with about 19 DraftKings points, but he did run for 100 yards in that game. Pretty much played as bad as he could in that game, and still almost had 20 DraftKings points. So definitely have a lot of interest in him this week overall. Obviously, if he gets that 100 yards rushing again, you get that bonus and everything else like that. Definitely have a lot of interest in Kyler Murray. He's projected 6% ownership on DraftKings this week. Optimal appearance rate is 9.9%, so some pretty good leverage to gain there. And then on the FanDuel side, he's projected at 10% ownership with 12.6% in the optimal appearance rate. So a little bit of leverage to be had there as well. Could be a pretty good week for him overall. Hopefully it's not the same case that was the last time versus Seattle where they only were able to put up like 9 points, but DeAndre Hopkins did not play in that game, and I think he makes a big factor overall this week. And if you want to go right out and say it, if you want to put DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray together this week, I do not have a problem with that. Just did not work out that way in my core overall. Then we're going to move down to the running back position with Deontay Foreman, who is $6,000 on DraftKings. He's $7,300 on FanDuel. So I'm going to say, first off, I like him a lot more on DraftKings, where he's $6,000. FanDuel, he's a decent little play there. He probably won't be quite as popular on FanDuel, but I expect him to be pretty popular come lock time for DraftKings. And it's been announced that Chuba Hubbard is out once again this week. The Bengals have actually been pretty good against running backs so far this year. They are 6th against running backs, but this is more of just an opportunity thing than anything. So Foreman's been playing really well, getting a bulk load of the carries here. Might not be quite involved in the passing game. They still might get some Spencer Brown, some Raheem Blackshear in there as well, but he is by far the most talented back that's going to be available for them this week. Do expect him to have a pretty strong week once again. DraftKings, he's projected at 6% ownership. I do expect that number to rise, though. An optimal appearance rate of 14%. He's averaging 7.3 points on DraftKings and 7.29 points on FanDuel. And then for FanDuel, his projected ownership is also 6%, and the optimal appearance rate of 13.5%. So pretty similar odds on both sites. I do expect his ownership to go up quite a bit on DraftKings, maybe a little bit on FanDuel overall this week. Probably be a little bit more in line with his optimal appearance rate overall. Then we move down to wide receiver with Joshua Palmer of the Chargers. He's $5,100. Should be back this week. He's been practicing all week. Was dealing with a concussion the week before the bye week where he ended up missing. Mike Williams is out for multiple weeks now. Keenan Allen supposedly re-aggravated his injury, has yet to practice this week. So it's going to look a lot like the Josh Palmer and the Gerald Everett show. A little bit of foresight there. Gerald Everett's going to be on this list as well. But Josh Palmer is $5,100 on DraftKings. He's $6,200 on FanDuel. So pretty reasonable price tag for a guy that's going to be the wide receiver one for his team this week. He's averaging 9.4 DraftKings points so far in the season. And then on FanDuel, he's averaging 7.23 FanDuel points so far in the season. The Falcons are dead last in passing yards allowed this season. 306 yards per game. A.J. Terrell has not practiced yet this week. He's unlikely to play in this game. Casey Hayward's on IR. They've been throwing out Darren Hall and like Dorrance Armstrong or Cordell Armstrong. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Dorrance Armstrong, I believe, is the defensive end for the Cowboys. Excuse me for that. So I think it's Cordell Armstrong. Not afraid of those guys. Joshua Palmer should be able to beat those guys with regularity if he's getting the volume, if he's getting involved in this passing game. If he does what he's done in the past without Mike Williams or Keenan Allen in the lineup, he's going to be a great play this week overall. In terms of ownership on DraftKings, he's at 12%. Optimal appearance rate is 10.2. So you're getting a little bit of negative leverage there, but nothing too crazy. And then on FanDuel, projected ownership at 10%. Optimal appearance rate at 8.3%. But if he hits this week, you're not going to care if he was slightly negatively leveraged because he's still paying off at that price tag overall. Then we move down to tight end with Gerald Everett. He's $4,800 on DraftKings. He's $5,800 on FanDuel. I like him a little bit better as a play on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I like Kyle Pitts a little bit better just because he's $300 cheaper. But on the reverse, on FanDuel, Kyle Pitts is more expensive. So you kind of got to pick one here. Either way, both are pretty solid plays. But Gerald Everett, a lot of the things we said about Josh Palmer still apply to Gerald Everett. Falcons have been terrible in passing yards allowed. They're 29th versus tight ends this year. There's no Mike Williams. There's probably not Keenan Allen this week. They got to throw the ball to somebody. It's probably going to be a lot of Austin Eckler, a lot of Gerald Everett, a lot of Josh Palmer. If you want to stack Justin Herbert with these two guys in your lineup, feel free to do so. It just did not work out that way in my core, but definitely do not have a problem with it this week overall. And then in terms of ownership, Gerald Everett on DraftKings is 6% projected ownership, optimal appearance rate at 10.2, so quite a bit of leverage to gain there. He's averaging 9.9 DraftKings points per game so far this season. And then on FanDuel, he's projected at 10% ownership, 11.1% optimal appearance rate, so a little bit of leverage to be had there. And then he's averaging 8 FanDuel points per game so far this season. So looking like a pretty strong play. Once again, Josh Palmer and him probably going to be the two main pass catchers outside of like Austin Eckler, who is a little bit banged up in his own right. Then we get down to the defense. So we got the Patriots defense. They're $4,100. They're one of the most expensive defenses on the slate this week on DraftKings and FanDuel as well. FanDuel, they're $4,900. So yes, you are paying up a hefty price tag, but you're going against Sam Ehlinger of the Colts. Third string quarterback making starts pretty much. He was not great last week. That offense didn't do much. I expect this Patriots defense to do very well versus him. Young, inexperienced quarterbacks typically struggle versus Bill Belichick's defense as well. And Jonathan Taylor hasn't practiced yet this week, so he may or may not play in this game. Or if he does play, he's probably a little bit limited. If he doesn't play, you're looking at Deion Jackson and Phillip Lindsay in the backfield. Maybe Zach Moss slips in since they recently traded for him, but I don't expect him to be too involved. And I'm not really afraid of any of those three running backs overall, so should be a pretty favorable game script for this Patriots defense. They're averaging 9.5 fantasy points so far on the season on both DraftKings and FanDuel, so definitely looking pretty good there. In terms of ownership on DraftKings, they are 4%, and their optimal appearance rate is 7.7%, so pretty much double what you're getting in terms of ownership. And then on FanDuel, their projected ownership is 4%, and their optimal appearance rate is 9.6%, so a little over double over there as well. A lot of leverage to be had with this Patriots defense. Obviously, they're a little bit more expensive, but I think it's definitely worth that and warranted this week overall. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do have listed here, you'll have $22,600 remaining on DraftKings. Just over $5,600 per player. So you're going to have to budget just a little bit here and there. Maybe you throw in a cheap wide receiver like a Van Jefferson. That's $3,500. Maybe you try to build a little bit more balanced build. A lot of different ways that you could go about it. If you don't want to play Kyler Murray, then you could play Justin Herbert. If you want to play Kyler Murray still along with this lineup, you want to slip in DeAndre Hopkins or Rondale Moore, maybe even a Zach Ertz, you could definitely do that as well. And then on the FanDuel side, if you go with these 5 players, you'll have $27,600 remaining, $6,900 per player. So a good chunk of money left over to spend there, whether you want to put Kyler Murray with DeAndre Hopkins or one of his other receivers, or if you want to slip Justin Herbert in there, he's a little bit cheaper as well, and then kind of open up some other value from there. Definitely a lot of different ways that you can go about it this week overall. But with that being said, these are my core 5 picks for NFL DFS Week 9. If you guys have any questions related to NFL DFS, be sure to leave it down in the comments. Also, be sure to let me know your favorite play for Week 9 NFL DFS as well. Also, be sure to mention whether it is FanDuel or DraftKings, just so I get a good idea, since some of the pricing is a little bit different between the two different sites. And then, as always, be sure to look out for my cheat sheets for both DraftKings and FanDuel over at WeBetATS.com. I will try to link them down in the comments below throughout the week as they do become available. But definitely use that as a resource. If you have any other specific questions, like I said, always feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Coach Craig Sport. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, it's NBA DFS and NFL DFS. And then with that being said, if you are a new or current subscriber who's yet to do so, also be sure to hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, I do daily NBA DFS core pick videos Monday through Friday, so definitely be sure to check that out if you're into NBA DFS as well, or if you're looking to get into it in general. And then I have the weekly core pick videos for NFL DFS, as well as the live stream for the Monday night and Thursday night football games as well. Mainly focused on the DraftKings single game showdown slate, but I know some people that do watch it like to play on FanDuel as well, so I try to touch on that too if I do have the time to do so. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And then last but not least, special little shout out to each and every one of you watching today's video. I truly do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Definitely means a lot to me, and I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.